Let's talk about chemistry today. How about that, Doc?
Sounds great to me.
You are a tutor in chemistry, but let me just take a step back. What does chemistry mean? We're not talking about
Chemistry.
a relationship, right? We're not talking about a relationship in the chemistry.
Right, right. No, chemistry is all about the study of matter and its relationship to matter and the ways they interact with each other.
Give
That's
me an
really
example.
the so. How does what exactly is the air made out of? The air is made out of, well, we figured it out. It's made out of nitrogen mostly, and some oxygen, carbon dioxide, a few other gases, and so, okay, great. So it's made out of these things. So what? Okay, well, what do those things do? Well, nitrogen actually doesn't do a whole lot, right? As a molecule itself, it's just pretty stable. It just sits there. Oxygen, though, it happens to power a bunch of the different systems that go on in your body, things that you need to have happen. Oxygen, what makes it go, and carbon dioxide is actually a byproduct from that reaction. And so, and then there's the plants use the carbon dioxide in other ways that create more oxygen and actually create fuel and stuff. So, chemistry is a pretty interesting topic, and it's really just all about stuff that exists in the universe and how it works.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. So we connected your personality, your love for chemistry, everything about you. I found interesting. So officially introduce yourself, and you are a chemistry tutor. So tell us the name of that company, and we're going to go from there.
Awesome. Well, my name is Dr. Japheth Rauscher. A lot of people call me Doc Knott. And I have a PhD in inorganic chemistry, actually, from UC Davis. I'm the founder of Doc Knott Tutoring, and we help ADHD students, mainly high school students. Actually, we help all students improve their grades in chemistry. But for the ADHD students, there's a little bit more to it. We can actually help them figure out how their brain works and learn how to learn in a way that works for them. And that's basically what I do.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a minute. So, why your love for chemistry? Because
Ah,
wait, hang on. So, if you're a tutor, you love what you do, but
yeah.
let's look at the backstory that you love it. So, talk to me about that.
Well, when I was growing up, I have ADHD, I have dyslexia, I have to stutter. It was really tough for me growing up. Learning was a very difficult thing. And I didn't think that I would ever, actually go to college or learn anything. I barely got through high school as it was. So years later, I ended up going back to school and I took a chemistry class. Um, and this may be a little sidetrack of a story, but it's how I fell in love with chemistry.
Sure.
First day of my chemistry class, the instructor had three balloons on the table, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to light these balloons on fire. Which one should I do?" So one of them was really big and it was floating really high. One of them was like kind of a medium size, and it was floating just as well, right? The third one was a little bit smaller and it was laying on the table. They all had strings attached to them. It was attached to the table, but it was just laying there. And he's like, "Which one should I light on fire?" Of course, me being the non according to my mind, I was not very smart. So I sat in the very back of the class. I was like, I don't want anybody to see me.
Well, hang on.
Um,
Why do you say you were not smart?
that's how I grew up. I grew up believing I was not smart. And it was because of the way my brain worked didn't work with the way I was being taught. And so I just thought that there's no way I can learn this stuff. I loved science. I thought it was cool, especially dinosaurs and space and all that. Thought it was amazing, but I knew that that was outside of my reach. I'm going to end up being something different. That's
Okay.
that was my brain.
Divert. Okay, it's fair. It's fair. I don't want to divert, but I just was curious as to why that is. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So then this guy's like, "Okay, we're gonna light one of these balloons on fire. Which one?" And we're all like, the big one, And so he goes, "Okay, cool." So back then we didn't have the long lighters, so he had a candle on a yardstick, and he goes over and he pushes that candle towards the balloon, and it just blew out the candle, and that was it. And I was like, "Well, that was pretty anticlimactic. Not all that fun at all." He goes, "That was helium gas. Helium is not reactive. It's just a noble gas and it doesn't do much. So when you pop the balloon, it just blows the candle out." I was like,
So
"Great."
you were fascinated by that.
No, I wasn't actually. But the next balloon was a different story. So he
Okay.
said, okay, why don't I blow this balloon up? So he lights the candle, puts it on the stick, and this time he put his safety glasses on. Didn't have it on the first time. I didn't notice that, but he put on his safety glasses. He goes over and hits the balloon, and huge explosion. Boom! Whole room shook. I could feel the compression hit my chest at the back of the. It was like a 200-person classroom at a community college down in San Diego, um, and dust fell from the ceiling, and I was like, wow, that's cool, you know? And then he goes, should I bother with the little guy laying on the table? And we're like, yeah, of course you should, right? So he goes over and he lights the candle again, and he goes in and he blows up the balloon and goes, boom. This time I could actually tell he was nervous, but this time it was way bigger explosion. Um, Again, dust fell. I felt the compression, but the girl in the front row, she fell out of her chair onto the floor. And
Oh boy.
I knew at that moment I was going to be a chemist. That was it. I actually went home that day and looked for chemistry jobs in my neighborhood.
So that's your aha moment. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we had the list of questions we're going to review our bullet points, but what separates you from others as a chemistry tutor?
So
Well, maybe I should
instead,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so instead of focusing on more work for the student, and that works for your neurotypical students that just need to practice a little bit more, right? But most ADHD students, and that's mainly what I'm working with, they don't need more work. They need to learn in a way that works for them. And so what I do is, instead of giving them more work to do, I dive into what's going on, and I build what they already have into something that they can use.
Okay. All right. That's fair. So here we go. You said we're going to talk about chemistry made for minds that think differently. What do you mean by that?
Um, so basically, I like to show chemistry in a way that works for brains that don't think like your typical student, right? Instead of reading the book and getting what comes out of the book, most of my students can read the text and they have a little bit of an understanding, but then they have to read it again and again and again. It doesn't really work very well. So what I do instead is I build analogies. I make this that chemistry something physical, something they can actually feel and hold on to. I make it humorous. If it's funny, they'll hold on to that. They'll keep it, and so
All
that's
right. So
that's
tell
what
me
I do.
what's make tell me reference a funny part to this where you can resonate with the students or they can resonate with you.
Okay, all right. Well, so let's see. A good one, I suppose, is when I make the analogy for solids, liquids, and gases. I usually like to talk about a rock concert. Okay, so
Hmm?
you come to a concert and you're sitting there, and my analogy has some breaks in it, but you'll get it.
Yeah.
We're sitting in our chairs, and the band hasn't started yet, so they're playing music for you, and you're sitting there and you're rocking back and forth to the music, and you're talking to your neighbor, but you're sitting in your chair. You're a solid. You're vibrating in place. You're sitting around, and everybody's close together, but we're all just sitting there vibrating. Okay, we're just moving like this. Kind of, okay, cool. This is fun. And then the band starts. Everybody gets up. Now the analogy breaks, and all the chairs disappear. Okay,
Hmm.
we're now able to move around. We're dancing. We're grooving to the music. We're having a good time, and we're moving around each other, but we're still very closely packed together. It's just that now we have freedom of movement, and we're moving in all kinds of different directions, right? So we're a liquid. Then the band gets rocking hard. They're really rocking out. And a mosh pit opens up near the front of the stage. And this big space opens up where there's no people, maybe two or three people running around inside that space. And they're really moving. They're moshing around and they're fist throwing, That's a gas. That's a gas bubble right there. So
Now,
I try to put things into real context that somebody can think about and
here,
really understand.
here's what I like. I like your energy. I did awful in chemistry, so I if I had you back then, I think it would work out just fine. But I love your energy. So talk to me
Thank you.
about you can move folks up to levels.
Yeah. So
What is it?
I've had several students that I've worked with over a period of time, and students come in and they're struggling hard, and they're having a hard time getting through the class. Um, and with my strategies, the way I work, it actually I'm able to work with what they have and how their brain works, and they find out that, hey, you know what, actually, I'm not as dumb as I thought I was. That's me personally. I'm not as dumb as I thought I was. I can actually do this stuff. And when the confidence comes in, then the grades go up, because the grades really come from improving your test scores, and getting your test scores up really comes from having confidence. The work part of it is really easy. Anybody can do that if they just put their if they just put more time into it, right? But we don't have more time. We only have 24 hours in a day. We need to be able to do this in a way that doesn't increase the amount of time and struggle that we put into it, but actually increases the result.
Okay.
And yeah,
Okay.
I've had students come in with C's and bring them up to A's. So
Yeah.
that's
Now we're
so
talking.
that's that's what I've had.
That's the
And
win.
students who come in, we're working 30 hours a week, struggling to even get to chemistry class, and saying, I hate this stuff. And then I find ways that their brain works, and they say, you know what, actually, I think I'm going to major in chemistry, and they go to grad school. And
Okay.
so,
Well,
yeah.
I've seen, high school students when they're planning out their schedule and they get to that chemistry piece that they have to take. Some of the reactions are, "Oh boy, I have to take
Here it
chemistry."
comes.
But if you can make it fun, talk to me about the
That's the deal.
the scholarship piece by you helping them raise their grade. What's the correlation from with raising grades to potential scholarships?
Well, as you know, that applying for scholarships, a lot of the times you need to have certain grades to actually get those scholarships. So we work with them. We help them focus on what they need, not on what they don't need, because all the stuff that they're already strong on, there's no point in rehearsing that. So we just focus in on what they actually need to focus on, and then build their confidence, give them tools that help them learn how to learn faster and better, and their grades automatically improve, and that then helps them to get those scholarships that they're looking for.
Hey, we know if you get scholarships, it reduces the overall student loan potential thereafter, right?
and
With school.
and that's no joke. That's no joke right there.
Yeah, every little bit helps.
It
Talk to me
does. It
about
really does.
you use Focus, Focus, the chemistry method.
Mm-hmm.
All right, elaborate
Yeah.
on that for me for a minute.
Okay. So focus is something I came up with. I was looking for a system to really match the way ADHD brains learn, right? And short bursts, structure, and constant feedback. And so, what it breaks down to is this: F is find the gaps. Most tutors pile on more problems. I start by diagnosing what's actually missing. Maybe it's a concept from 2 units ago. Maybe it's confidence. You can't fix what you haven't identified, right? So it's really important to fix the leaking pipe, right? And don't just keep mopping the floor. You have to find where the leaks start. And then O is organize the mind. So ADHD brains aren't disorganized; they're just overloaded. So I teach visual systems, Pomodoro timers, dopamine-based study routines that
Mm,
make finishing tasks satisfying. Right? You got to build that dopamine rush in the work that you're actually doing.
mm-hmm.
One student used to panic before tests, and we made color-based battle plan that he now starts with each test, and it helps him calm down and get ready for the exam.
Yeah, I like that.
The C is connect the dots. I use analogies constantly, like Le Chatelier's principle. I call it the crowded elevator rule. The more people, molecules that get on, someone they start pushing each other, and then they automatically move to the edges of the elevator. Everybody moves around to fit nicely, right? So it's kind of like that, or kind of like a seesaw, where if it's balanced, then it can rock back and forth, and if you unbalance it, then it's gonna tilt until you take that extra weight off, and now it's balanced again. So
Mm-hmm.
I use analogies like that constantly. Then U is unleash confidence. This part is crucial. Every win, even small, gets celebrated. ADHD students need dopamine hits of progress. They stop dreading chemistry, and they start saying, "I've got this." And then S is step into success. I don't just teach chemistry; I teach how to learn. these skills carry over to college, and careers and life in general.
All right, so give me an example what you mean by that. How can it carry over into a career?
Well, we don't just raise grades, we raise belief. When students realize that their brains aren't broken and they
Yeah.
start showing up differently in every part of their lives, so basically learning how to learn frees them up from the idea that they can't learn or they can't improve, they can't grow, and they go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, and that changes everything.
Mhm. Yeah, it's that reassurance. Again, I do like your style. You seem like a breath of fresh air because for a while there, even through generations, not only with chemistry, things seem to stay stagnant in terms of how one teaches. And that's just my opinion,
No, that's very true.
right? And that's what I like about your style. So everything you said is based on what we talked about: you building futures, you building success. You're keeping the retention going with not only the student but the families, I'm sure. Um, what other things should we know about you and what you can offer the student?
Well, so I offer several different programs in my tutoring system, and one of them is I think the one that's best for most students is my group sessions. So in the group sessions, students, there's 5 or 6 students together in a group, and we go through concepts. So there's usually two sessions a week. First session is very sort of like lecture, if you want. It was more about information coming in, and them getting the information and understanding it. And then the second session is the working session, where we really just work on the same material that we've just been talking about, right?
Hmm.
But the advantage of the group is that you're with people that are like you. So neurodivergent students in particular really do well with other neurodivergent students because they don't feel afraid to ask questions. They don't feel afraid to do other things like that. Yeah.
Explain what that means. That term.
Um, Neurodivergent. People whose minds work differently from the normal, like ADHD, autism, dyslexia. There's a lot of different ways that people think differently, and so they need to be taught in a different way that works for how their brain works.
And you get it.
Um, yeah, well, I am it, so
Yeah.
so yeah, I do.
Hey, we need more of you. We need more of you. So what we're going to do is share with everybody your information. Um, we have a couple of we have a resource magazine. We have a different resource component to our platform, as you know. So I will list everything there so that the families can reference your information and get a hold of you. But as we close this, I want to thank you for your time. This is a lot of great information. And go ahead and tell us again your company and how we can find you.
Thanks. Well, it's been a lot of fun actually, and I appreciate you and everything you're doing out there. You're helping students find ways to make education easier and better, and just something they can actually do. Whereas a lot of students still today feel like they can't go to school, they can't learn, they don't think that they can. And from my point of view, it's a lot of times they think that they can't do it because of their brain. In your case, I just can't afford it, and hey man, maybe you can help me get there. So that's some of the things that I think is great. I went off a tangent, sorry about that,
You're
but
going to tell us. No, that's all good. I think we both can agree that this online, this virtual format world that we have now allows one to be themselves,
yeah,
possibly more so
yeah.
than in the classroom. Not that that
Mhm.
doesn't work, but hey,
Right,
it's that comfort zone.
right. Well, there's so another thing that's weird is there's not a lot of men in college anymore either. Where are they? They just don't think they can do this anymore. And I think that what you're doing is helpful as well, and what I'm doing is helpful, and hopefully we can get more people who wouldn't be going to school to go to school. But yeah, they so I'm Doc Knott. You can find me at docknott.adhdtutoring.com, and you can find me on the social medias as at Doc Knott. Um, and I would love to talk with you. Your student is not broken.
Hmm.
They just need to learn differently. That's all.
Awesome. That's a great way to end it. Absolutely. All right, Doc, I'm going to put your information up and we will talk soon, but hang tight, okay? For a second.
Thank you.